Today on the podcast, I thought I'd do something kind of fun. I did a talk earlier, and I called it the Sold Out Playbook. And it's about our brand, Neat, that we acquired. We make sweat proof shirts. And I talk about how we were really nervous. We're sitting on inventory. We launch, we stand up our funnel, and it kind of worked. We actually sold out of product. So why let a good problem go to waste? Let's turn it to a marketing moment. So I created some content around how we sold out of the products, and so I call it the Sold Out Playbook. So this is a talk I did on it. We're actually going to probably turn this into a course because a lot of people have been asking about what we did and how we pulled it off, and I want to do this right. But just for fun, I thought I'd throw out the talk to see if this is helpful. Um, and I apologize. I actually presented when I was doing this talk, but I think you'll be able to get a lot from this. But I basically talk about, how we went from sitting on all this inventory to selling out. I talk about, figuring out, are we even ready to grow and launch? What we did before we launched. I talk about honing in on our positioning and some tweaks I made to the website to get our conversion rate up and get our average order value up. I go pretty specific on how we stood up ads, the copy, the creative, how we ran those tests, and how we did a scrappy launch strategy as well. And I also even get into the numbers on how we modeled out what is success and what is failure, as far as how we sell these products, but in a way that works for our business model. So I hope this is helpful. Hopefully this is good content. So if anyone out there is listening and is looking to do a big launch, a big push, and you're like me and you're frugal, we won't say cheap, you're frugal, and you're trying to maximize your dollars. Hopefully this is helpful. So let me know what you think. But if you really like it, shoot me a note on LinkedIn or Twitter, and we'll go forward with turning this into an e-product. But again, thank you so much for listening and being along on this journey as we're trying to build this company in public need. So been some highs and lows, but this one is a fun one.
You cannot invent and pioneer if you cannot accept failure.
We wanted people that were insanely great at what they did.
Nobody was making any money at all. Most people thought the internet was going to be a fad.
Okay, today I want to talk about a problem that I have, and it's the fact that we are now sold out of all of our products, and I call it the sold out playbook. Okay, so let's rewind. When I invested in Neat, we bought a company, we bought this apparel brand, and we had warehouses filled with products, which created a great opportunity. However, they hadn't figured out the marketing side. So we decided to apply this 5 point system that I've learned running my own growth agency for the past 8 years. And how we face different challenges because we are sold out of all of our products. If you too would like to solve the problem of having too many people wanting to buy your product, then I think the sold out playbook might just be right for you. So I want to get into this and hopefully you can learn something that can help you with your business to go from idea to sold out. Um, so some other notes on the success behind it, to kind of tease this system, we did some things to the website that took the conversion rate from 0.6 to 3.8%. We were able to increase the average order value from $58 to $100 with 3 simple tactics. We're able to get ads to have a return on ad spend of over 350% and to be sold out in basically 30 days. Now, how do you go from this thing of having this idea of, how do I turn this idea into something that is real and selling out? How do you take a warehouse full of products that no one wants to buy to a warehouse empty where you're like, hey, how fast can we refill? So we're going to get into this, but if you're like me, you've probably made some state mistakes in the past, like you try and grow too soon, right? You're sending traffic to a website that doesn't actually convert. Or second, you're growing if we look at the top line, but it's not profitable. And it's only if you spend money on ads, but you don't have the profits to reinvest in inventory. Or maybe you get some small wins from one-off campaigns or launches, but it's not sustainable. When you stop, the traffic stops or the sales stop. So I've seen this problem time and time again, and I was like, how can I crack the code? So for the past 8 years, my agency, we've helped generate $250 million across 150 companies. And as we've seen companies go well, companies not go well, we decided to figure out what are the common denominators, and we broke it down into this 5-step process. And again, this is after learning from brands that have gone on Shark Tank. This is after learning from brands that have raised $100 million in funding. We've seen brands go from idea to getting acquired by private equity. And these learnings we've even taught to venture capital firms like Techstars and LinkedIn. But my goal is to keep it simple and to give you what you need to do it yourself and in a cost-effective way. So let me break it down for you, the sold out playbook. So here are the 5 key steps. And the first step is actually not even a step. It's let's validate, are you ready to grow? Is your company ready to grow? I'm going to give you the checklist to figure out how to do that. Okay, now to get started, it's really around crafting your unique value proposition that allows you to beat the competition. Now, this isn't about being better, it's actually about being different. Okay, the second part, we need to create an activation offer that will get sales. We're going to get into how you create urgency, FOMO, and scarcity to get people to take action when they're in a busy, crazy world. Okay, third, how can you stand up a funnel that converts and do it in a cost-effective way? I'm gonna talk about some horror stories I've seen with brands where that did not go well. Fourth, how do you build the growth model to maximize your limited budget, right? Because a lot of times you want to do these tactics that big brands do, but you don't have the budget. I'm going to show you how to be efficient with that. And then finally, a launch strategy when you don't have money to go big, but you have money to go smart or resources to go smart. And then finally, as a bonus, after the launch, after you sell through your first buy of inventory, I'm going to give you the 12-month growth engine as far as how to think through calendaring out growth. Okay, let's dive in. Are you even ready for growth? That is the question. So there's 3 simple things I want you to ask yourself. Right now, look at your website. Do you have a website that converts? Do you have a healthy conversion rate where if you send cold traffic on mobile, they will buy? Second, do you have a scalable channel that's been validated? Sure, you can maybe send a message to friends or do your own social posts that can get sales, but do you have that scalable channel that can grow and get you to that next level of selling through your products? And then finally, do you have your position dialed in? And what's the test for that? Talk to your customers. How would they describe your product to someone? And is that what you want it to be? Now, warning, if you're not ready, then investing in growth too soon will actually accelerate your failure. We say this all the times with companies that want to hire a growth agency when they're not ready. If you hire us, we will accelerate how fast you burn cash. So do not focus on growth until you are ready. 90% of startups fail because they want to grow when they're not ready. They don't want to do the hard work. And I know this because my growth agencies worked with 150 brands. We've seen the good and the bad of this. All right. The first part, your value proposition. Now, there's a lot of value proposition exercises out there you could do from like a branding agency or consulting firm. Think of this as how do we write copy on ads, landing pages, and emails that speaks to your customer? That's what I care about. So there's a couple exercises we're going to do to extract that out of you. And it's simply around why customers should care. So this formula I have, it's the pitch formula. And there's a couple key call outs here. When you're figuring out how to talk to customers, there's 3 core things. 1, who are your target customers? Now be specific. A mistake I see so many companies make in the early days is they go too broad. The more specific, the better. It's not like your first inventory buy is, 1 million products. It's probably much smaller than that. So we don't need 1 million people to actually convert. The second call out, after you're specific on the persona, is what is the key benefit to the customer? Are you a painkiller or are you a vitamin? Why should they care? Why should they stop what they're doing, go on your website, and actually buy what you're offering? Okay. The next thing, now this one's really hard. I want to know who are we competing against and what's your point of differentiation. Now, notice I'm not saying why you're better. Why are you different? And if you nail your target persona, This will make it much easier, right? And by the way, your competition, it might not be a direct competitor. It could be an indirect competitor. Your competition could be indifference. Your competition could be urgency. So something to think about as we go down this. Okay. So after you've gone through this kind of exercise of those three things in this formula, you're going to do something second. I want you to think through, how do we package that up to speak to your customers? You know who your customers are, you know the benefit, you know the point of differentiation. And I'm gonna give you 5 tools on how you speak to your potential customers. First, do you speak to them with features? A lot of times, early adopters want to nerd out, and you can get technical with them. Second, benefits. How do we speak to them, not in features, but in benefits, why they should care? Third, maybe we speak to them in a problem solution format. To get their attention, don't lead with the benefits, lead with the problem that you're solving. Fourth, and this is probably my most favorite, is use case. We need to talk about when they should use this and why. The more specific you can get for the persona, the better. It's kind of the idea of show, don't tell. One of my favorite examples is Spanx shapewear. If they would have launched on benefits or features, it wouldn't have made sense. But they got to 8 figures on the back of 2 use cases. One is you want to wear a silk dress and not feel self-conscious and have rolls, wear Spanx. The other was around wearing pants and not having panty lines. And then finally, maybe you speak to your customer about the aspiration or transformation they're going to have for your product. So what I want to do is show you with Neat what we did. So with our pitch, it was very specific. We're going after fluent males, 25 to 55, that have a problem that they sweat too much. They're self-conscious about it and it goes through their shirts. And who are we competing against? We're competing against other really comfy, soft cotton shirts, your favorite shirt in your closet that is great. But when you're going out on a hot summer day or you're going to do a presentation, you don't want to wear that shirt. You want to wear our shirt. So that's our pitch. How do we speak to customers? For us, it's use case and problem solution. Um, there's a really fun quote from Ogilvy that says, if you want to sell fire extinguishers, talk about fire. And I am a huge proponent of that with our product, is talking about the use case, talking about the problem we solve. Okay, so we've got the value prop, we've got the positioning, we have it in a way where we can, communicate it out to the world. But here's the truth, that is not enough. You need to have an irresistible activation offer. And what's the point of the activation offer? It's very simple. It's creating urgency. Think of the last time you saw something that was so good but had an offer that matched it, that you were busy, you're maybe in transit, you're traveling, but you're on your phone, you're like, I've got to buy this now. You need to be that. And so to do that, I want to give you a few tools in your tool belt to pull that off. So we're going to start first with the irresistible offer formula. There's 4 core components to that. First is the dream outcome. What is the dream outcome they want? The aspiration or the transformation? Second, what's the likelihood of achievement that you will pull this off for your brand or for your customer? Third, this one's maybe the most important, time delay. How fast can you get them to this transformation or magic moment? And then effort or sacrifice. Hey, how much effort do they have to put in to get this? Another component to put to that is a guarantee. And by the way, this is there's more about this from an Alex Ramosi book, $100 million offer. Okay, so as you think through that offer and how you can talk to people, the second thing I want to do for you is think about, how do we package this offer up? So we have this activation offer spectrum where we have like the least aggressive offers to the most aggressive offers. So I want to give you a few examples of those. We'll go from least aggressive to most aggressive. So first, content or quiz. Maybe you can get them engaged by taking a quiz or giving them a download to learn more about what you're going to offer. That's the activation point. Second is early access. This is something, if you're truly a painkiller than a vitamin, you could do. Third is you can do discounts, you can do buy one, get ones, you can do bundles and create a little urgency because, hey, you only have a limited amount of products that you can give them. Fourth is giveaway products in exchange for them sharing it. So you're turning customers into marketers. And then finally, you can actually pay people to use your product or to become customers. And there's some amazing examples of all of these. I mean, Guilt did that. Whenever you would share it with a friend, they would give you $25 in credit. From giving away free products, Harry's did this as a referral mechanism when giving away erasers. Discounts and bundles, True Classic went on a tear because of the massive shirt bundle that they did. So just some things to think about. And as far as a quiz example goes, Third Love, which makes women's undergarments, was going after Victoria's Secret and competing on fit. And they did it with the fit quiz. They're like, hey, 80% of bras don't fit right. Take our quiz to see what's right for you. So with all of those, what's right for you? So let me talk about what we did with Neat. We actually tested this. Now, that what I want you to take away from that is don't put pressure on yourself. You have to come up with a silver bullet of an offer. You're going to have options that you're going to want to test. And we did 3. The first was the no sweat guarantee. If we don't hide sweat in your shirt, you get your money back and we'll buy the shirt right off of your back. The second one we tested was the no sweat closet upgrade, where we're allowing you to get 3 shirts and basically save $30 on it. And then the third one that we're testing is the free tea campaign, where we give you a free tea to share it with friends. And by the way, we tested all of these at lunch. At launch, and the bundle has proven to be the most successful in the short term. And the free tea campaign, as we're following up for referrals, is working as well. And we'll get more into that with what we're doing. Okay, you've got your value prop, check. You've got your offer on how to activate people. Now, how do we put that into the wild, right? What does that actually look like? And that's where you take those 2 things and you put it across your funnel. And that is your ad funnel, your website funnel. And I want you to do it on a shoestring budget, right? So let's talk about this and what that looks like. So we know we're going to have this big growth marketing machine eventually of doing ads, doing SEO, having custom funnels by personas and products. But to start, let's keep it simple. You need one ad campaign, you need one landing page, and if you do that really well, you can sell through your product. So what does that mean? Flatten the funnel to minimize your risk, minimize your workload, and to minimize your startup cost. Too many times I see brands waste money on these huge elaborate websites, and it is overkill, right? Less ads, less pages, we'll make this work out. Okay. So let's start with the website. Let's start with the bottom of the funnel. And I'm going to give you a checklist on how to think through building a website that converts. And when I say website, I'm talking about a 1 to 2 page site. So first, the positioning we just went through and your activation offer should be dripping across all of this. And so as we look at the website, that's where the messaging comes from. The other thing that we need is quality imagery and quality user generated content. We spent $2,500 on a photo shoot. We spent about $1,000 on user generated content, which, by the way, half the stuff we got was no good. The other half was pretty good. We also sent the product out so we could get feedback from people. And so that one has been huge. The next thing after having quality imagery and user generated content is a conversion focused website. So what does that mean? Well, first, we want to be mobile first. We also want to be fast. So that means, yes, you can have videos on your website, but be aware of how that loads. The other thing is when you go through your website, there needs to be 2 things that you're thinking through. One, at any point, will they be confused on what is this? Why should I do it? And why should I do it with you? The other thing is ask yourself, what are the natural points of friction in buying something? If it's apparel, like what we're in, we know that there's going to be questions on quality of the product, on sizing and fit, and on shipping. So with that in mind, we need to address that, right? And also when you're a new brand, there's no trust, which is why social proof is so key. That's why we would give the product out to people in exchange for a review. The other component that I want to hit on is minimizing pages. So we have a home page, collection page, product page, and a cart. And if you're launching with just one SKU, you could have a 1-page website. So I really want to push you to have less. The other thing is revenue expansion opportunities. What does that mean? We sell products that are $44. My business model does not work if I just get new customers at $44. So what we have done to get that cart to be not $40, but $100 are a few different things. One, we raise the prices by $4. Second, we push bundles over single products. Those bundles have an average order value of $100. And then the final thing we're doing at the cart is we're giving in incentives. Hey, if you spend $85, free shipping, spend $200, you get a free shirt. Those things allowed us to take the average order value from $58 to almost $100. And all of these things have taken the conversion rate from a 0.6% to a 3.8%. So that's step one, is getting the conversion funnel dialed in. The next component that I want to hit on is a system that maximizes your ad spend. We're going to talk about how to set up your ads, one, how to do copy, two, and how to do creative, three. So first, the setup. Now, the Facebook algorithm is something that is actually getting better and better, which makes your account structure, it can be much simpler. Now, there's a three-step system we do, and this is something we've worked with the Facebook MBA program. We paid 5 figures to be a part of that to understand how the algorithm works and the setup and how it should match it. So there's 3 phases to this. So first, I want you to do this brand estimated action rate test. So what does that mean? You're taking specific concept elements, which would be your copy, for the ad, the headline for the ad, and the creative for the ad. And that is something that you're going to run a test where the goal is not actually conversions, it's engagement. Because you want to see what content gets blessed by the algorithm. And the good thing is, these are very simple tests you can do within 3 days for a minimal budget. We're talking under $100 or $50. So once we get content that is blessed by the algorithm, we can go to phase two, which is a dynamic creative test. So what does that mean? We take all this blessed content of the best copy, best headlines, and creative, we put it in a DCT, and we let the algorithm pick and choose and mix and match the best combinations. And then we see what wins, what starts to get conversions. And then we take those winners and we put those into another ad set and we see if they scale. This is all happening in one campaign. And why is that important? It's important because the algorithm gets really good the more data it has. So when you break out multiple campaigns and multiple setups, you're spreading out the learnings, you're spreading out the intelligence. And so we consolidate it to one, because once we get over 50 events, the algorithm gets much smarter, can find people that are aligned with your persona that want your product. So that's the first thing we do on the setup. But to pull this off, we need great copy and we need great creative. And so whenever we're doing creative, we have a lot of different formulas that we're working through. And some examples are copy that has a problem solution formula, authority copy where you have a press outlet or a scientist, a PhD talking about the product. We have a bold statement to get their attention. We have this breaking news copy format. There's also the sex appeal one. For example, like warning your girlfriend won't be able to take her hands off of you because you look so good in the shirt. And so with us running through that bear experiment and running through the DCT test, here are some of our top performing headlines and copy. First, this one was the shirt with superpowers everyone's talking about. The second was a PhD scientist finally made a sweat-proof shirt. And then another one had emojis and said, yes, the shirt really hides sweat. And all this is validated. So we take those top performing headlines and pieces of copy, and then we're playing with creative. And we tested lots of different types of creative. We did TikTok style creative. We used influencers and user generated content. We did stills. We did what we call ugly ads. And for those of you listening, you can see all of this on the presentation that I'm showing. And so as we mix and match all of this, running the right account, the results were super exciting. We got our return on ad spend, our ROAS, to over 350%. Our cost per purchase was $24, and we hit over 100 conversions in 2 weeks. And for us, we thought this was actually going to take about 60 to 90 days, because if this didn't work, we would do it again with more creative and more headlines. And so what you're probably asking yourself is, okay, Jim, that's great. What was your budget? Was that success? What does that look like? And so as you're doing this, I want to go to step 4, which is building your growth model. Because everyone here is trying to sell through products, but the whole goal there is to buy more products. So where do the numbers check in and where do they work? So there's a few concepts that I want to arm you with. And one is around your cost per acquisition, and the other is your return on ad spend. And with the cost per acquisition, there's this idea of a CAC ceiling. And it's basically what's the maximum amount you can spend to acquire a customer, right? And so to do that, we first need to know the cost of your product. How much is it to make a shirt? How much is it for it to be landed and be in the warehouse, factoring in like picking and packing and everything? Are you paying for shipping? Are you not paying for shipping? Also factoring in potential returns. What's the average return rate for your category or your industry? Okay, the second thing I want you to think through is profit. How much are you making on this shirt, factoring in those expenses? And of that profit, how much are you willing to spend on customer acquisition? How much needs to go into a rebuy for your next order? How much goes into other initiatives? Um, so what I want you to do is take the difference between the costs and like your expected profit to understand what is your range of what you can spend to acquire a customer. The other big call out there is some companies will be more aggressive with this, where they're saying, hey, I don't need to be profitable on the first purchase, the second purchase, or the third purchase. Other companies are less aggressive. They're like, actually, I need to make money on the first purchase. And your business model can absolutely determine this. If you're selling dining room tables, it's an acquisition-based business model where they buy it once in a lifetime or once a year, you absolutely need to be profitable in the first purchase. But if you're selling a subscription product or supplements or potentially fashion, maybe you can break even on the first purchase. Maybe you can lose money. For us, we absolutely wanted to be profitable in the first purchase. So the next thing is, what is the budget? How much should you spend to be able to run this process with creative, with copy, to get enough data to see if the ads are actually working? So our rule of thumb is around 2,500 to 3,000 per month. That will allow you to get enough conversion events, enough add to carts, enough impressions to start to let the data learn. And so we call that the validation budget. Then as it works, you can go to a growth or scale budget. So let's talk about what the CAC was for or is for Neat. So I'm going to talk about my CAC ceiling in two categories. One is if we just sell one shirt, and then if we sell a bundle. So I'm going to give some ballpark numbers here. So if we sell a shirt for 44 bucks, let's act like it costs us $10 to buy it and for it to be landed, and maybe it's factoring in some returns. That means that I have a $34 profit margin. So my CAC ceiling, you could say, is $34, but that assumes I'm not losing money, but I'm also not going to have money to do a rebuy. If we sell bundles where we're making $100 and we say our cost is 30, then we're at a CAC ceiling of 70. That's where it gets a little bit more interesting. And to understand what your ROAS floor would be, meaning your return on ad spend, basically take that $100 that you would make divided by the 80, which is the CAC ceiling. Or it could be 44 divided by 34. So we're looking at a return on ad spend needs to be over 130%. So that gives me my guardrails as a business owner. I'm like, okay, where am I losing money? Where am I making money? And for us, within 30 days, we're able to get our return on ad spend to 350%, and we were to get our cost per purchase to $24. So we beat both of those goals, which was really exciting. And that tells us, hey, we've got room to grow. That allowed us to spend more on ads than we initially had budgeted. Okay, let's go to the fifth phase, which is the launch. Now, this is all around what is the first milestone you want to hit, and it is to sell through your inventory, right? And so you can get there two ways, and it needs to be a combination of two. And it's through the paid strategy we just went through, and then it's the scrappy marketing strategy. And your launch strategy can be that go-to-market motion that kicks all of this off. And it's in three phases. It's a pre-launch, a launch, and a post-launch. So let's talk about that pre-launch. The pre-launch can start out as long as you have. And that's where you're really starting to build a list. Can you build a wait list of people excited about your product? Um, you could have an unfair advantage of already having a list, or maybe you have to start building it in a scrappy way with your network, friends of friends, putting up a landing page and putting the word out there. You can also do a referral mechanism on top of that, so people can invite others to get on the wait list and you give them a free product for whenever it launches. The other thing that we do is we want to seed the product with the right influencers, with the right people who would be those early adopters, and factor that into your budget with your first inventory buy. How many products can you seed? Is it just 10? Is it 50? Is it 100? The other thing you can do leading up to the launch is a giveaway. Like, hey, sign up because on launch day we're doing a giveaway for $500 worth of product or a year's worth of product. Ideally, you want that giveaway value to be over $500. Sometimes 250 could work. And then you want to start making that email launch sequence, which should start 2 weeks leading up to the launch. All right, so now we're at the launch phase. And as we're launching, we're 2 weeks out, we start to build up the hype and the anticipation to let people know that it's coming with the pre-launch emails. And as you're doing that, you're creating engagement. You're also on your social accounts in a more frequent way where you're pushing it out there. And then on launch day, you want to do this thunderclap where everyone you've been emailing, those people that whether influencers or in your network that you're seeing the product with, you have them ready to help amplify the posts that you're putting out there. And then on launch, you're also doing a reminder after the launch email and announcements. And you're really pushing that initial activation offer that we talked about at the start of this. And then the post-launch strategy, it's a lot of follow-ups, it's a lot of reminders, and then your people are now on this journey with you for what you're selling, for what you're bringing to market. They want to know updates. And so you want to do that with regular content, regular posts. Think of it as building in public. I see a lot of people go on a podcast tour to talk about it. That can be a good way to amplify the launch. So some things I want to call out with Need on what we did was teasing the new site 30 days leading up to it. We are teasing out different sections of the website, new imagery from the model, new video content, and we did that at a biweekly cadence. I also was starting to seed the product with about 25 people and sending out messages to my personal network of around 100 people. So on launch day, we did social post, email blast, manually texted out to 100 people in our network, and gave away 70 shirts on that day for people to share it with their friends. And then on the follow up to that, we've been doing weekly updates on how it's going, where we're showing the website stats, we're showing how many orders we're getting, we're showing reviews from customers. That way, people that maybe didn't activate on launch day, they'll have a little bit of FOMO and want to activate after that. And so what was the result of all of this? This is how we sold through product, and we're able to just submit a purchase order for $50,000 to do our next buy of product. So the big question is, what do we do next? And this is something I want to put in here as a bonus, and it's this idea of your growth calendar. How do you calendar out your growth plan? And so the first thing I want you to think about is look at your 12 months from January to December and ask yourself, what are going to be the natural peaks in my industry and what are the natural troughs? So when I say peaks, maybe Q4 is going to be huge because you have a very giftable item, or maybe you sell swim trunks, so summer is huge for you. But then there's going to be these troughs. So if you're in the swimwear category, January might be really tough, and maybe back to school is really tough as well. So knowing that you have a time of, peak season, which is demand capture, and a sign of weakness, where you're more about demand creation, you need to factor that into your growth strategy. The companies that do that really well are the ones that kind of go to that next level. So what I want to show here is the growth calendar. And think of this as you've got that 12-month time frame from January to February, and you want to start to calendar out everything that you're doing. And think of the things you calendar in two simple categories. The first is you're always on growth channels. What are you always doing? You're always doing social ads. You're always doing Google ads. You're always doing SEO content. You're always doing a referral mechanism. You're always doing outbound. But then there's another category, and it's what are your marketing moments or growth events? And so, how many times are you launching a new product? How many times are you doing pre-orders? How many times are you doing an influencer launch campaign or giveaways or a partnership collaboration? How often are you doing a podcast tour? Or what trends are coming up because it's back to school or it's the Super Bowl where you can ride that wave? How can you do engineering as marketing? Like Jolie, the showerhead company that did this kind of water test to see the water that goes into the showerhead, how good it is for your body. And so as you think of calendaring out your growth ideas, ask yourself, does this idea align with the peak season where it's about capturing demand, or does it align with the trough season where it's about creating demand? Because in those trough seasons, that's when you can be more experimental and think outside the box on how to grow. But I hope this was helpful for anyone out there that was like me, where you're sitting on inventory, you've got this new product, this new brand, this new idea, and you're like, how in the world am I going to sell through this? But hopefully this can be helpful on your journey to selling out.